Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Babylon Podcast. Surprise, we're still here. I'm Summer Brooks.
I am Tim Callender.
And we have another infamous guest with us today. Macaulay Bruton, who played the enigmatic Jack, the literal backstabber of Mr. Garibaldi.
Yeah.
So
the obvious question is,
yeah.
Did you know when you got the role?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of a funny story. So, I think I was hired originally as Michael O'Hare's on-set acting coach, right?
Okay.
And because he had come from Broadway, Michael Straczynski saw him on A Few Good Men, and they brought him out. They did The Gathering, the first episode, and he had never done he had never done any kind of film work before, TV or film. So he was very big, and and just didn't know what he was doing on the set. And he was, he had some trouble fitting in, at first. So the producers of the show hired me to come out, and because I was working as an acting teacher at the time, I was doing, I come from the theater, and I was doing a lot of theater, but I'd also sort of transitioned to doing TV and film. I was writing, I was doing a bunch of stuff, and so they hired me to come in and help him sort of make that transition. And we've sort of formed a really close working relationship over the entire year. So I had the good fortune of hanging out on the B5 set for an entire year. I was like almost there every day because Michael was always on. We would run lines in the trailer. But what's interesting to me is that I love Michael Straczynski. I love the world that he creates, and but I was hired by the producers, by Doug Netter and John Copeland, to come because they weren't sure if Michael was going to make it on the set, and so I was kind of there, kind of working with him to make sure that he would, be able to do this, and we formed a very close relationship over the years. But it also gave me a great time to hang out with lots of really cool people, and we had a lot of fun. The first season was just a ball. It was really fun, So yeah, I feel very fortunate about it.
So how did you end up getting cast as Jack then at that point?
Well, okay, so this is kind of interesting. I have a theory. I had when they brought me on, I kind of said, hey, I'll do this, but I kind of want to do some guest star stuff, and they said, hey, no problem. And I was kind of reporting back to the producers. I was reporting back to Doug Netter and to John Copeland, not so much to Michael Straczynski. And I think that may have, and Michael is a very creative guy, so I think that may have I'm sort of going behind. I'm sort of because Michael had some issues, and even back then he had some mental issues, and so they were, the producers were going, is he going to make it? I go, yeah, he's going to be fine, but some issues happening here, but it's not going to be a problem, that kind of thing. So I think Michael kind of wrote me in as that for, because it makes sense, right? So, but I also did I think I did tragedy and some weird, deal too. I don't know. It was fun. So that's the origin story.
So to find out that you are, as Summer says, the literal backstabber.
Yeah.
And Straczynski didn't tell you ahead of time, hey,
No.
You're going to be in X number of episodes, and at the end.
No.
So tell us, the script comes across your desk.
Yeah.
And you open it up. Yeah. And what's your reaction at that point?
I thought, oh, it's cool. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Because I had been playing it, I was just working with Jerry Doyle, right? And I was and Jerry Doyle and I got along awesomely. Andrea Thompson and I get along. Claudia and I got along. Richard Biggs, unfortunately, who died too early, got along.
Yeah.
Delynn was a friend of a friend. Claudia, actually, I knew from, I used to live in the Hollywood Hills, and she was good friends with Lana Clarkson, who got shot by Phil Spector, and it's a whole story. But anyway, go there. But so like we kind of, some of us knew each other, some of us didn't, and it was just, yeah. So, but when I was playing the role, I was playing it straight, and then it came across that I was shooting him, and I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense, but the funny thing about V5 is that everybody, like the producers, Michael Straczynski, everybody was like, everybody can like walk by an airlock and get sucked into space. So if you don't like what we're doing, we don't care because we got lots of other people to hang out with.
Right. I think as fans, your character was probably the first indication that things weren't going to be, that there wasn't going to be a reset button at the end of every episode, right? That there were things happening, and that what was happening with the character, in another episode, Jakar says, no one here is exactly what they appear to be.
That's absolutely true.
And that character was the first embodiment of that, right? Mm-hmm. So tell us more about helping Michael O'Hare. When you say that he was, I don't want to get into the mental health stuff, which we all know about now. Right. But so what is that? What do you think?
Look like on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, and what do you think? Let me just finish the other question. Is that what do you think that Straczynski and Copeland and Netter saw in Michael O'Hare to bring an untested television actor into such a prominent role? So tell us about what you worked and what do you think they saw and how you think that progressed.
So, my background, I've done probably 30 Shakespeare plays. I've graduated from NYU Tisch School of the Arts. I worked regional theater. I've done, like I said, as a writer, I developed a lot of original plays. So I come from that real hardcore theater background, right? And I was making, and I was teaching at the time. So I was transitioning, I was actually known as a coach for people who didn't have a lot of TV experience. I worked with a lot of models and stuff like that, and then Michael came along, and Straczynski had seen him in A Few Good Men on Broadway as the Jessup's role, the Jack Nicholson, you can't handle the truth, that thing, right? Which is great and it's, I get it wanting to hire him because it's a big presence, and I think Michael Straczynski wanted somebody who's like a big presence and could be a captain, and I think Michael was that guy. But there's a big difference between working in theater where you're projecting to an entire audience and working on camera where the camera is actually reading your thoughts, right? Mm-hmm. So what I did with Michael is, I would work lines with him and work scenes, and he would try something. I'm like, that's too big, or that looks great, or whatever, And then when he was shooting, I was always on set with the directors, and I would, he because there's different directors and there are different quality of directors. Some guys like, I don't get any names. Some guys were just into commercials, and they kind of made it so a lot of guys didn't know how to gals. I mean, Janet Greek was one of the best directors ever. She was out. I can do a whole thing on Janet Greek. She was amazing, but they didn't know how to work with actors, right? Some of them did. So what would happen is Michael would shoot a scene. We would have worked on it in the trailer. We got there early. We would work on the lines. We'd work on it. We'd try to figure out what the beats were. How you break it down. What are you going for? What's happening? Mm-hmm. And then we get onto the stage. We start shooting, and so I was there, and I go, like, and he would always come to me. And he goes, "What do you think?" I go, "But you're doing great. This is a little bit too big. This is like a little bit over. So just focus on what you want as opposed to performing it, because it's the same work, but it's very different because, the camera literally reads your thoughts. And especially if you're a lead, the camera reads your thoughts. So you have to just do the work, but small. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a very subtle transition. If all you've done is theater, it's a hard transition sometimes to make. And Michael went to Harvard. I mean, he was a bright guy, but sometimes bright people get in their heads, and he would try something, right? And I would go, I don't think that's working. Let's try something a little different here. Let's try this, and he would go, oh, okay, great. So that was kind of our relationship, and which was great. I love, I've directed a lot of theater, and I love helping actors. It's fun, and I love the work, and it was a joy working with Michael because we just, there's ups and downs, but we had a lot of fun. I think he did really well in the first season. I think he was a very charismatic character, and I believed him. Get great voice, and I think he worked really well with the other cast because he had a very diverse cast. Jerry Doyle I like Jerry a lot. Don't get me wrong. Other than the fact he worked for Drexel Burnham, and he was one of the people that sold junk bonds and made a couple $1 million and shit like that. But I don't get into that. But he was very funny, and he was very very smart, very talented, and but he came from a different level of he ended up becoming a talk show host.
Yeah.
Andrea Thompson ended up becoming a news anchor, right? And she's also awesomely talented. Claudia is freaking brilliant. She's a Mensa person. She's also very, very funny. So and Andreas was awesome too because Andreas was my guy because Andreas was total theater dude, and he did not feel like he was. He loved the 6 hours it took him to get into the mask. He loved it. He just it made. He was not a theoretically good-looking guy. He wasn't a leading man kind, but Jakar made him look like a leading man. And he just loved transforming into that mask and just becoming Jakar because it was something that he wasn't. And he worked with masks. I've worked with masks. But I'm just saying, sometimes the mask brings out this whole other thing in a person. And
sure.
It was, although, he was he's so funny. That stuff is very flammable, right? And he was a chain smoker.
Right.
Andreas was dude, be careful over there, So anyway, it's interesting, different people come from different perspectives. People who only do TV, there's nothing wrong with that, and there's great stuff, but it's a very different background than if you come from the theater and you're used to creating like Michael and I, from theater, you're used to creating these characters that aren't necessarily so closely connected to you. And doing a lead on a TV show it's got to be very internal, very very connected. Otherwise, nobody believes you. And the trick in Babylon 5, of course, is that it's all in the words. You create. I know the visual effects and stuff, but you're creating this whole universe just by talking about it. It's like Shakespeare. It's like you're creating this whole thing, and you're only creating it with your words, right?
Right.
And so you have to, unlike a lot of TV where you just kind of do something and you show it, in Michael Straczynski's world, it's like you had to talk about it. You had to talk about that, that vortex and this thing and the whatever, and it's just and you had to make it believable. So it was a very interesting mix, I think, for me, of theater and film and television and film. So it's kind of interesting.
So would you? Oh, sorry, Summer. Go ahead.
From the end of the first season to the beginning of the second season, basically we see Jack's heel turn, and we see Garibaldi almost die. And at that moment, we know we're watching a different kind of show. We're like, anybody can be anyone at any time,
right,
and nobody is safe.
Right.
Once we knew that at the end of the second season, did that change your approach to interpreting Straczynski's words for Jack at the beginning of the second season before everything falls out?
Well, no. I mean, so I shoot Garibaldi and into the first season, and I come back, and I think I have one episode at the beginning of the second season. And at that point, clearly, I've been caught, and clearly, and then of course I escaped. But I guess it was kind of it was interesting when I got the script and find out that I shot Garibaldi, and that was not something I knew was happening. But so by the time the second season happened, I realized there's a wait, 6 or 8 months before we shoot the next season. I knew it was good. I wish they had kept me on longer because I enjoyed working on the show.
I will admit, you had the most epic eye roll I've ever seen on a space opera show. When one of when you're sitting at the security desk and one of the other guys runs in and says, "Delenn's out. You have to come see her. She's got butterfly wings." And you're like, "Oh, for crying out loud."
Okay. That's funny.
Oh, but that whole little verbal sparring match between Jack and Sheridan right before Jack vanishes was
Garibaldi
was a lot. Well, no, with Sheridan first, and the Garibaldi one.
Oh, right. Yes. Right. When
Sheridan
they catch
first.
him in the hallway, right?
Mm-hmm. They catch him, and Garibaldi talks to him and says, "Hey, whatever," and then he disappears, and that whole mystery sets up like 500 questions in everybody's mind for the rest of season 2. Did you ever interact with any fans who were like, "Dude, what's up"?
No, not really. It's funny. I still get fan mail though. It's very odd. A show that happened
30 years ago.
I still get minuscule residual checks that I use for like a beer once in a while.
Good.
But it is weird. It's like I have So I have been I have been getting that stuff. But I don't know. I didn't really. I wasn't enough of a star that I would really get interaction with fans a lot. But every once in a while it was fun. But now it's weird. It's like, oh, Babylon 5. Oh my god! Not the show, really. Oh yeah.
There's a certain generation, for lack of a better term, that have come around and they are discovering the show. I kind of keep an eye out on a subreddit, and it's mostly people going, "I just found this show. Oh my god!" And then everybody else replying with, "Nobody spoil it."
Don't say anything.
Right. Yeah. So the question I have is that scene between you and Garibaldi. First of all, that feels very much like something Straczynski did in Babylon 5, which was almost like a stage production, right? It's just two characters and a table and a dark and a dark sound stage. What did you do to prepare for that, knowing that this was like, where the mystery deepens, right? And that you were going to be interrogated by your superior officer, and what was that like for you to prepare for that? And again, knowing that, you just found out, 6 months ago now at this point, that, your character was in essence a villain, right? So what is that preparation for that kind of scene?
Well, for some strange reason, I get cast as bad guys a lot, so don't ask me. I think it's the deep set eyes. But you prepare for it like any other role. It's like you have to make it real. So, and it's interesting because I think partly because Jerry and I had a good relationship off camera. We talked a lot, and he was always very kind to me on set. So so saying that, it's very easy to create that sense that I like when I go into the scene in the second season. I know that I've betrayed him, and I know how much he trusted me, right? And so that's the emotional core of that scene. It's like I know that you thought I was your best friend, backup person, da da da, and I betrayed you, and I kind of know that it doesn't really fucking matter.
You're good.
What's happening in this scene because I'm going to get away. So. Right. Because I'm connected to. I mean, these are choices I mean. So I'm connected, and that scene is really everything you thought you knew about me, you don't know.
Sure.
And I'm not going to tell you what it's about. So I'll see you later.
Right.
Right.
Right. When Jerry Doyle slams that crutch on the table, was that in the script? Because your jump was pretty convincing.
Well, I think when somebody slams, I don't know if it was in the script. It might have been in the script, but it seemed to work in the. Again, you kind of some of the stuff is in the script, and some of the stuff is like you kind of work it out, as you're doing it. It makes total sense, right? He's been really betrayed, right? Mm-hmm. So, and. I mean, you just think about it. It's like, all the years we were together, and I was his, helping him and doing stuff, and I was his go-to person, and now it comes out that I've betrayed him, I shot him, I tried to kill him. That's a big betrayal, right? So, yeah. Anyway.
So after Babylon 5, what did you keep busy with?
Oh, that's funny. So I had, I was working the stuff, and then I had a script that I had written with my partner, and it was a comedy, and it was a feature film about what would it be like if there was a whorehouse for women. Like, what would that look like? And it was all about, it was my partner was a woman and an editor and it was all about the difference between what men find sexy and what women find sexy, right? And it got a lot of buzz, and back in the day, Kathleen Turner was going to star in it, and then somebody else was going to star in it, and then it took like a year and a half to write. So at one point, the financing fell out at the last minute. It was supposed to go shoot, and it fell out. So I called up a friend of mine that had started just taken over an auto dealership out of bankruptcy. And he said, "Hey, I need this like part-time gig, for like 3 months because I lost the script, and I got to just get some money into it because neither my partner was out there working." And so I ended up just working for this guy, and then I became like director of operations for the company, and so I recently just retired like in November of last year. I did like a short film that I had written, but nothing big. And then so I recently retired, and now I'm going back into acting, so it's fun.
Are you still doing any teaching?
I am not. Not yet, but probably will. I really enjoy teaching. I love the whole craft. I love the craft of acting. I love living in these different worlds, and like I said, I developed a lot of original material, like a lot of plays and stuff like that. So it's just I love the camaraderie. One of the things I miss about Babylon 5 is just all these great people. You show up at the set, every day, and these people become your family. And it's really, you create kind of an interesting bond with people. That doesn't mean like everybody's close friends, but it is an interesting group of people to view. And not just the actors. I mean, Haley, the script supervisor, all these other people are they're really interesting, fun people. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to get back into.
Did you watch B5 when it was aired? Even after your character had been removed from the scene, did you keep tabs on the show?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I did. I'm sorry. I did. I mean, I know a lot of people got into it. I guess maybe, it's like kind of sorry I didn't get brought back, because I really would have liked to have done more stuff on the show. But no, I didn't get into it. But I appreciate people do, because it's a wonderful thing. It is a very unique world.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a very hard world in a lot of ways to deal with as an actor, because there is so much stuff you talk about as opposed to showing. Because TV is a lot about show, right? But on SciFi, it's a lot about talking about whatever is out there, and this ship, and this is him, this is the relationship, and it's all talk. And so it as an actor, it does, especially Babylon 5. Because, like I said, Michael's an awesome writer. I really appreciate his talent. But it is difficult to get through some of those scenes, where you're talking about this and this and this and this and da. It's like normally in a TV or film, you don't have that kind of dialogue. You're just reacting to something or doing whatever. It's unusual, But it's also, I think, the reason why people get into it. Like I said, it's like, for me, it's like Shakespeare. It's like Shakespeare creates a world just with words, and you go there. It doesn't, and it really doesn't matter what's on the stage or what the scenery is, or anything like that. It's like you go to where that person is, whether it's a sonnet or it's you're doing Hamlet. I don't know if you guys have seen Hamlet. Oh my God, what a awesome! Have you seen the film?
No, I haven't.
Oh, like one of the best films I've ever seen.
Wow.
Seriously.
Okay.
Jesse Buckley knocks it out of the park. And it's so well directed. Chloe Zhang directs the film. She won an Oscar for No Man Land a few years ago, and she's incredibly talented. But this film is just like, wow, and it's, I don't know, it's fun to create those words. So for me, I'm a very word-oriented person. I like reading,
sure.
I like reading plays. I like having discussions about things. So yeah, that's. I think there's a reason why Babylon 5 is because it sure ain't for the special effects, which were revolutionary at the time.
Yep.
They were awesome at the time.
Yeah.
But now,
one of the recurring questions on the internet is when will they redo the special effects for 4K and all the rest? And the answer is never.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Right. It's just not gonna.
Well, that was one of the special things about Babylon 5, though, is that John Copeland, who's one of the producers, and his staff really came up with a very economical way at the time of creating these special effects. Now, these special effects took forever to do. Just that they had to lay them in afterwards. That's why there's not a lot of them. That's why there's more talking and not showing.
Yep.
But and so that was part of the whole deal, was they could make the show for a lot less than some of these other shows because they had this new tech. I mean, people were working on Macs, and it was like this whole new thing, and they would come in and, oh, look what he did, and oh, cool, So
right. Yeah. Well, if you haven't watched the rest of the series, I highly recommend it, because the things that you enjoyed about.
I have it on DVD.
Yeah, you should do it. Okay, so here's your assignment. You watch the series. We'll reconvene in about 3 months, and then we'll have a conversation about the rest of it. No, because they're very much a hallmark of the series is what you're talking about, is that interplay between two characters with nothing around, right? And just that emotion that carries through. So,
right.
It's and it's interesting to hear you talk about it, having been involved with it, and recognize that that's one of the things that is what's so great about that show. It builds those worlds with those words.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and like I said, past 5 years, the show has finally been back on different channels and different streaming to find this new audiences. It was
I'm
on
getting residuals. I get it.
There, yeah. It was on Tubi. It was on Amazon. It actually still is on Amazon, and it just was added to the Roku free channel. So more and more people are finding the show and asking questions, and I love that, because your character's surprise it was one of several major breadcrumbs that rippled out throughout the rest of the entire series, all the way to the end. And I just found that so awesome. And I'm glad you were there to bring us one of those, oh my God, what was that, surprises.
Yeah, right.
And we're glad that you were willing to talk to us about a television show that you shot 30-some years ago.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I still have my Babylon 5 crew jacket, man. I love the show.
Nice.
So, and I sent you a picture of the poster that Mike did.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, yeah. So that was cool. Yeah. So, so let me ask you guys, what attracted you to Babylon 5? What's...
So for me, in a nutshell, being a longtime Trekkie, but also more than that, a science fiction fan generally.
Okay.
Here was a show that wasn't Star Trek.
Got it.
And did some things that were daring for science fiction television at the time.
Okay.
Different sorts of characters, different universe, and longtime listeners of the Babcast will know. Early on, it was clear that the creator of this show, who we didn't know much about at that time, or I didn't anyways, was clearly a science fiction fan, because the kinds of things that he peppered into those first few episodes were like, oh, I know that source and I know that source, and it didn't feel like stealing. It felt like homage, right? It was like the first television show that I saw that's had an alien in an encounter suit, right? And that's like this character Nadric from the Lensman series, right? And Jump Gates, which was a different thing, right? And Jump Point, so that's Asimov, right? Yeah. So there was to see a science fiction show that wasn't Star Trek with all the tropes that came with Star Trek. And then, of course, at that point, the characters, right? And that was from the word go, right? It was all very interesting characters, and that they were all pulling in different directions and all had very believable reasons for the choices they were making, right? So even your character, Jack, as much as of a surprise it was, in the context of the show, it made sense, right? Because as Summer said, it's became this other portion of this mystery that got built out, right? So there were never any mustache twirling villains, right? There were never any spotless paladins. Everybody had nuance, and that was the thing that drew me in and kept me going.
That's cool.
That's cool. And for me, it was a complex story with really, really cool spaceships.
Really cool spaceships? Yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, Macaulay, I would love to bring you back for more. I you can't imagine how lovely this conversation was, and I'm glad you were able to share your work with Michael O'Hare.
Oh yeah, sure. And I miss Michael. I mean, I'm so sorry for him. He had a very complicated. He was very, very smart. And I miss Richard Biggs, and I really miss freaking Mira Furlan. I mean, she's a good friend of some other friends. To lose her to West Nile.
Yeah.
The number of souls the show has lost is really
it's crazy.
Disappointing. Yeah, it's
saddening.
It's saddening. Yes.
Andreas is gone, and the other thing that was really cool is that they just brought on these awesome guest stars. I mean, just this Theodore Cal, you name it. They're like these great Walter Koenig,
David Warner.
What a great time to be able to hang out with June Cleaver. I'm serious. It's like oh, okay, I know who that is. That's great.
Yeah.
Well,
those I really enjoyed doing the show.
Great. Well, again, Macaulay, thank you so much for sharing those memories with us today.
Yeah. I'll have to. I have these backstage photos that I took at Christmas of all the cast, right before Christmas break. And I'll have to share this with you guys at some point. I have to see them. But they are funny.
Definitely, please do.
All right.
Hey, this is Summer, and I'd like to remind everybody about the Star Trek book I co-edited, Women Take the Con, an unauthorized Star Trek essay collection by women writers about the women of Star Trek, the original series. And I'm really proud of this. Hope you guys go check it out. Feel free to email me if you have any questions. The link is right here. My co-editor, Rich Handley, was instrumental in pulling all of the elements for this book together, and we are really proud of this book. So, if you are a fan of Star Trek, the original series, support us, check it out. I thank you. Rich thanks you. Star Trek fans, thank you.